where you talk that your contribution to the development of the health sector in Kwara State. While you are still abroad in the US doing your particularly actively, we are aware, and even have the CNN report to that effect, that you usually spend some time to come to Nigeria just on the pro bono in order to add value and to contribute to the health sector development in Kwara State. Can you just let us into this?
So thank you very much for that question. I think I'll start by saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. I came from a very humble background with parents that don't have any Western education, and I got to where I am today partly because I happened to be in an environment where there was good governance. Jack Conde was the governor of Lagos State at that time, and for someone who is from the humble background that happened to have gotten good grades after school, to have been able to get a government scholarship to go and study medicine abroad. And then from there, doing a PhD, doing neurosurgery, and then becoming a professor of neurosurgery and one of the more known neurosurgeons around the world. I felt the little I could do, the least I could do was to give back to my community. And so we started with actually bringing Nigerian doctors abroad as the chairman then, as somebody that was leading the big. When I was in the States, I was overseeing the neuroscience service line. So we oversaw neuroscience in 14 hospitals across 4 different states. So Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and part of Florida Panhandle. But a lot of that we did because we had good leaders in position. So I will bring people from Nigeria, doctors, nurses, and then we donated a lot of equipment. And when they come back, we will come back with them to make sure they were well established wherever they practiced. So that was a way of giving back. But you also saw, and then I started to know what the healthcare system was like. A lot of issues, a lot of challenges. Then I negotiated, for me to have more time to do that in our country, I negotiated some additional time. In America, time is money. So when you want more free time, you have to give something up. That's when I got a reduction of about 25% in my own annual income to free up a week a month to be able to come back to Nigeria and be able to do more of that. So that's the story, and we had done a lot of medical missions. We had done some free medical spine surgeries. We had trained a lot of doctors, nurses, and I think I've helped maybe 4 or 5 states in Nigeria in developing the neurosurgery and spine surgery area. And that's what I feel like is the best thing I'm good at in terms of the healthcare, and it's the best way to help. And I think that's what CNN captured, that somebody could give up time and effort and be able to come back to Nigeria to help. That was what was featured on CNN. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much. I'm taking over from where the second is not. Is there any other question from the member of us? Just to let you know.
Good evening, sir. My name is
Good evening. Yeah.
The question was this. There is a rumor that you are doing this for someone. You may likely withdraw for some person, someone. Okay. So how true is that? And second was, your constituency consists of 7 local governments. From the researcher, but it is a local government is a official disadvantage. If you actually have a match, what will you do to correct the question? The third one is, you are part of the state executive committee member before. Can you tell us why you resign?
Okay. So the first question, so that people that don't hear, is that I am representing, I'm a proxy for somebody. And I think that's a very funny one, because I just told you that I went through a very objective process to get to where I am. So I can say, with God's blessing, that I'm a self-made man. My inclusion in the current administration was I was sought after. I didn't apply for a job. It was the administration that wanted me to come to the state to help with healthcare development in the state. So that's an illustration that I was doing a lot of things in other states. They say, oh, this man that's doing so many things in different places, maybe he can help. So His Excellency, who was my boss, who I respect, invited me to come to the state to oversee health matters. Typically in the state is SA primary, SA secondary. I was the only one that was ever chosen as special advisor on health matters. So I am not funded by anybody. I'm self-funded. The foundation is funded by contributions and the things that my own fund. So I'm not sure how I can be proxy to anybody. The last part of the question, which is the membership of the cabinet, like I said, His Excellency Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, who was my boss, is somebody I would never have been trained to respect people that have been my boss. And he's the first citizen of Kwara State. I respect him. But I just felt like I needed to do something else. I felt like in Nigeria, when you have a lot of responsibilities and you don't have authority, you can impact. And that was a way for me to go back to the drawing board and do something differently. I think
local government educational disadvantage.
So educationally disadvantaged. I'm not sure who is saying that because people are very educated.
People that are presently in the local government.
Yeah.
Your questions were of several local governments.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
The people there, they have problem. Let me start from insecurity.
Okay.
So they can't go to school due to some.
Okay.
So these are the things that are accumulated to the report that they are educational disadvantage.
Yeah. So let me take it on two levels. The first level is that on the national level, when you look at the basic functions of any government, right, is protection of lives and properties. It's one of them, one of the critical functions of any government. And I think the other ones is really creating opportunities for people to generate wealth. When you generate wealth, people can take care of themselves. And the way you generate wealth, you give opportunities either through jobs or creating an enabling environment to make ease of doing business. People can make their own money. And then when you now look at, you provide security of lives and properties, you create opportunity for wealth generation, which means people can get jobs. You now provide infrastructure to help support some of that. We are failing in a lot of ways, at the national level, at the state level, at the local government level. So the issue in Ekiti is not isolated to it. I think when you look at the security issue, it links up to lack of opportunities. It links up to lack of good infrastructure. It links up to lack of social support. There's no social support for the people that are disadvantaged. And it really links up to poverty. And so I've had people that have been kidnapped on the way back home in that axis. So it's a serious problem that I feel like we have to tackle it holistically by looking at those other aspects of it that have led to that situation. In terms of education, I hope we get to that because there's a multi-pronged approach to be able to tackle that. Good evening.
So with your submission about the government, obviously you will respect the government a lot. So why are you running for this office under another political party and not that?
So I said I respect the office of the governor and I respect His Excellency because he's the first citizen of the state. And I'm not taking that back. I do mean that. I also said that in Nigeria, if you have a lot of responsibility and you don't have authority, there's a limit to what you can accomplish. Which to me speaks to a lot of other aspects of things that I have not said. I have my people. Right now I'm trying to talk about Kwara South. And obviously Kwara State. All the citizens of the state are my brothers and sisters. But I'm running under the Kwara South Senatorial District. I feel like we have not had representative democracy. And I feel like we have not benefited, we have not had dividends of democracy. And a lot of that had to do with probably the way we select our leaders or the way our leaders are being selected for us. And I feel like because of some previous relationships, there was no opportunity for me to have done that under the same platform with His Excellency. So I had to find a way to be able to have an opportunity to represent my people in a way that I feel like they will believe that I'm representing them, not other interests.
So now we move on to the last one. From our this.
My name is
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, you are coming into politics, as I put it. Have you well studied the problem of Kwara State and perhaps your senatorial district, so as to know how best to represent the people?
Okay. Thank you very much. That's an excellent question. And I think that maybe I can tell you, so I'm a researcher. By nature, as a professor, I don't get into things without, first of all, trying to understand it. And I've had multiple opportunities in the past year under His Excellency Bukola Saraki in terms of really helping the administration with ideas, proposals on how to develop healthcare. And there was one or two missions we did where I traveled around Kwara State as part of Kesang Medical Mission. We traveled around Kwara State and did a gap analysis, and then we made recommendations on how, and I was glad some of it was implemented, some was not. And then under His Excellency Abdul Fattah Ahmed, we did something similar. We did medical mission, spine surgery mission. A lot of it was in advisory role, and it was done pro bono. Anybody can investigate it pro bono, because we wanted to give back. And then, of course, with the foundation, with our foundation, one of the critical steps we took, well, we just didn't want to start doing scholarships or doing farmers. We studied what was the most important for the people, so that our programs will be targeted towards to meet the needs of the people. And we're not done yet, because we still have to, you see, it has to be bottom up. Everybody needs to feel a sense of belonging, have a skin in the game, so that we're not giving water to people that already have water, and we're not building schools just to have photo op so that, okay, they say we're building schools. We want to know they actually need those schools. So it needs to be something that people are engaged in. So yes, I've been around politicians for a long time. I think I learned a few things from that. I have been around Kwara State, so I think I know what the issues are. We have studied, in addition to the state, Kwara South, so better understand where the people, what the people want. And but you never stop learning, so I'm still learning.
Okay, any other question? Questions?
Welcome to our Mr.
How are you, my brother?
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. That's for questions. Now, as a potential parliamentarian, analysts are of the opinion that most of the issues we have dealt with in the country are either there are no adequate laws, or the laws are not being adequately implemented. Coming from that background, the issue of dividend of democracy. Every election year, politicians talk about how to bring dividends of democracy to people. But the closest government to the people is the local. Now, the local government only operates on paper in most of the states in the country. What, in your opinion, do you feel is the problem? And how do you feel it can be best done so the local government administration will serve the purpose of its framers as they intended it to serve? And secondly, sir, that is one. Secondly, I want you to know that the Abdullah Abdulrazak government is 3 years old. Your friend, which you so much respect, I want you to assess his government, and let us have your take, your view about his achievements, his successes, his failures, and whatnot. Thank you, sir.
I think my good friend is confusing me with CPS, Chief Press Secretary. His name is Ajakai, by the way, not Sulaiman. So to ask me to speak to the achievement of His Excellency, I think is misplaced.
No, you assess opposition.
Yes, so you remember that 28th of September is the campaign time. So I'm very careful of breaking the law. But I want to speak to the first question. I think that one of the biggest challenges we have in our country is that the institutions are broken. because I think regardless of party affiliation, regardless of who is in position, if the institutions are functional, I think we have a lot of laws on the books. We have law and things that have been passed on the books. Is the implementation part that we have problems with. Ideally, the local governments are independently funded. They're supposed to get their own funding directly, and if that were to be the case, because if we can develop our country from the grassroots up, a lot of the challenges that we have in the country would have been sorted out. Because funding if you look at the healthcare system, the primary healthcare centers are funded by local governments. The general hospital is a state responsibility. The federal teaching hospitals are federal responsibility. If everybody had the fund they needed to do the things that were needed at the primary healthcare center, a lot of people will not flock from primary healthcare center to general hospitals. If the state funded the general hospitals well, then the fund coming from the federal hospital will just go to the tertiary hospital and everything will be done. But I want to also address your question by throwing it back up to people. They say that people get the government they deserve. There's a statement that says people get the government they deserve. Look at what happened in Sri Lanka. I'm not calling for riot. I'm not calling for anybody to run to and protest. But we know, you know, I know that this is how this thing should work. But then we accept it when it doesn't work. This time around, what doesn't work, let's fix it by putting the right peg in the right hole and putting people that actually know how legislative work should be done, how parliamentarians should function, and how we can hold people accountable. And lastly, I think we put too much weight on the government. I think any society, any community that functions well is the tripartite approach. The government does its own function, the private sector does its function, and NGOs. I don't think we have actually tapped into the private sector and the NGOs much in the States, or in Nigeria for that matter, because there's a lot of money out there that we can tap into to help our people to solve the problem. No government is able to fund everything 100%.
Yes, I'm sorry to lot of you right for the information possible. We have gathered Senate for a while in Kwara South, and you have been talking about government in the states, this issue. And I would like to ask, what are you going to do differently in the Senate?
I will represent my people. I will not represent special interests. I will represent my people, and my people would have access to me, and my people would have access to me. I'll be available for them. I will give constituency reports. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? That if you represent the people, if you say you're going to do A, B, C, you come back, well, I've done A, but B, I'm having these challenges, this is the new timeline. You work for the people because they have stood in the rain, in the sun, to vote for you. That's what true representative democracy is. That's number one. A lot of our manifesto I can't discuss here because it's open, right? But when we deploy it, when we open it, I would like people to challenge us on it. When people come out with a manifesto, don't just look at the list. When people say, I'll do this, don't say what, ask how. If you say you're going to fix schools, well, how are you going to get the money to do that? How would you raise the money? If you say you're going to pass this legislation, how would you build the case to be able to put it in the assembly? Who is the team you will surround yourself with? Let's not forget the how people are going to do what they say they're going to do. It's very critical because that's how people get away with stuff. And then before the election, they start building 10 classrooms. How is that going to solve our educational problems? How is building 10 classrooms and taking the picture with the classroom, how is that a solution to the educational problem we have? We said we have institutional issues. It's important. I know we should do that because our children should school in a decent environment. But we need to be training our children for the 21st century job. A lot of you now, when you finish university, most of you should not be going to drop your resume at this. You should be thinking of how to start your own business. If we train our people in IT, I was designing a website maybe a month ago or 2 months ago. And there's this kid in India. I'm paying him dollars. He's to design a website in Nigeria. He's in his house just doing the work. Why can't everybody here have their own business? Why can't we create that enabling environment? Why can't we help our people to become entrepreneurs so that they're not always looking for handout or government job? Because you don't need to work for government, all of us. There are opportunities we can develop in agriculture, even in healthcare, even in IT. We can develop environments where our people can develop tourism in Kwara South, which is also, we have a lot of mineral resources in Kwara South that has not been explored. I'm not going for an executive position, but I can use, we underestimate the power of the Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's a very powerful position if you know how to use it. I'll stop there.
Shall we go to the questions?
Good afternoon.
Yes, this particular question from your aspiration, and you said that it's because we want a higher authority so that we can deliver more. Yes, I want to agree that politics is not about interest, but as it stands today in Kwara State, I want to believe that Kwara politics is built on two basic pillars. One is the ideological aspect, which inform Otoge and what we are going to do, Otoge, and secondly is based on the conviction that there is what we call performance deficit. So you tend to hang your own position on the performance deficit. So now, to put it in a proper perspective, if you are to rank, let's say, the present state government and the present Senator of Kwara South on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate them? That is question number 1. And number 2, sir. Yes, like I said, that ideologically, I know you are part of the Otoge movement, and there are principles upon which that movement was built. So, do you think that the present government is still in line or still aligns with those principles that inform Otoge as a precursor to why they should be able to be astray? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you answered some of the questions yourself. But let me just put it this way. What are the critical traits of a good politician? People that have actually done well as a politician. Number 1 is that they love their people. They actually love the people. They care for the people. They want better for their people. That's number 1. That's really the fundamental one. The second one is that they believe in the commitment to do better than the community development. The community, like look at Barack Obama, for instance, he was a community organizer before he went to Senate and became a president. So, and then they feel responsible to the people. They feel responsible and accountable to the people. Those are because when they can't deliver, they feel bad that they have failed their people. That's the traits of good politicians, of people that are actually Democrats. That's one. The second part of your question, which was about Otoge, I've reflected on that. And I actually believe now that Otoge is just the beginning of political transformation in Kwara State. It's not the end. And we still have a long way to go. Because I think there's some tendencies that we have not gotten rid of. And the tendencies that I can't say openly. But I think there are tendencies that you guys should fight. Where people just sit you down and say, you should do that, you should do that, you should do that. When you're the one that's voting. You should use your vote to tell people what they should or should not do. That's the bottom line with the second question. The first part of your question, I got into this because I think I answered it, but I will rephrase it in the way that I feel like there's a limit to what individual efforts can do sometimes. And we did a lot through our foundation. But with policies that are passed and implemented, you can change a lot of lives. You can change a lot of lives and you can use your position to the benefit of the people that have elected you, if you are interested and you're committed to that goal. I'm looking at your face to see whether I answered your questions. Good afternoon, ma'am. It's good to see you here.
How do you fast the chance of the party? I mean, at the goal. How do you fast?
How do I gauge? How do I what? Oh, the chances. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So I think that politics is life. Politics is people. People, when they use their democratic rights, they can change a lot of things. We're going to go around to every nook and cranny of Kwara South. We're going to talk to our people. We're going to sell our stories. We're going to tell them what we're going to do differently. We're going to be honest with them. We will not overpromise. We will just tell them what the reality is. We know it's an uphill battle that we have to face. If you look at APC, it's both state and federal might. You look at PDP, they also have some people that have benefited, either in the right or wrong way, from being in government. So they will be doing a lot of things because of their positions to try and frustrate our efforts. But I believe in the power of the people. I believe that our people, they are very smart and they can see right from wrong. SDP as a party is not a new party. It's the party of Abiola. That's how we used to win the presidency. It's a party with a lot of culture, a lot of strong leadership. I think it's becoming one of the top three parties in the country. If you look at what happened in Ekiti, right? Ekiti was APC. We actually beat PDP in Ekiti. So I think some of the notions that, incumbency, look at what happened in Osun. Incumbency didn't play out there. So we need to begin to see that votes are beginning to count because of the electoral law. Because don't let people tell you that don't vote is a waste of time. It's not true. It's a lot more difficult for people to do funny things with elections. Now, go get your PVCs and vote. Your vote would count. Number two is that when the people believe our story, believe in what we want to do, and they can cross-check it, and we're living by our words, they would do the right thing. So to answer your question, our chance is extremely strong. I believe by God's grace we're going to be victorious in Kwara South because we have tested the other competitors, and the track record is there. We have tested the other two people that will compete with us. You should judge my performance, what I have done as a private citizen, and put it side by side by the two other people that are competing, and see how that plays out. I think our chances is excellent. I think we're going to do very well. So next time we meet, we'll be talking about victory and how far we've gone. And SDP becomes the victorious party in Kwara South.
Now, like Kimber from Let's Watch.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good evening, sir.
Is it?
One of the countries by name from Let's Watch. I want to take you back to the constituency, Kwara South, which comprises of 3 major languages: Igbo, Olo, and Ekiti. And there is this serious agitation from Igbo that they want the federal representative to be zoned to the Igbo. Now, practically now, there is 2 candidates from Igbo, which is you and also. Are you both working hand in hand to bring back to Igbo, or because like weeks back there's a meeting between? Is there any synergy? Is there any cooperation to work to take the position from Igbo artists?
It's a good question, and I think that we need to take a few steps back. because it speaks to this Muslim ticket, Muslim Christian ticket, and all these debates. I think, and I always give the example about Abiola's ticket was a Muslim ticket, and they won. Who annulled it? Babangida annulled it. Babangida was a Muslim. Who took over from Babangida was a Christian and a Shonekon. So this Muslim ticket and who is Ibolo Ekiti, and I think that those things are important because they keep Nigeria as one. Those things that we consider religion, ethnic background, because that's what really keeps us as one nation, because we're actually a conglomeration of ethnic groups. So we need to pay attention to those things. I'm not trying to play down the sentiment about the Bolo Ekiti and Ibomina. It's very important, but I will represent Kwara South. I will be the one representing the three, Ibomina, Ekiti, Ibolo. I will represent them equally, and I will make sure that nobody feels left out. And like I said, we will listen to all the factions and make sure that all the programs are included in our manifesto.
So go about it.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. My name is from Fazul. Like you said, while you were asking me one question, you said you're in and around Kwara, particularly from Kwara, you're from Kwara South. Sir, my question is, what do you think are the challenges Kwara South are facing right now? And what are the approach you are planning to do to tackle the challenges?
Thank you very much. I think I also said that when we unveil our manifesto, you will see more details. But let me talk about three of them. We have a 6-pillar strategy. It's all written out. When it's time to unveil it, we unveil it. It's a 6-pillar strategy to transform Kwara South. It's really 6 areas, which includes obviously jobs. That's the number one. We call it hashtag Kwara South Jobs Now. That you'll see when we launch it. It's about jobs. So, and I think that people can't be independent without being financially independent. You need to create jobs for people to make income, to take care of themselves, their family. If you go to the Western world, democracy works because people are somehow independent. If you have your job, you have your own house, you pay your own bills, nobody will just come and say, take this money and vote for me. They would like to convince you why you should vote for them. So we need to overcome that big deficiency in Kwara South, which is, and I'm not talking just government job. We need to create opportunities by bringing industry to Kwara South. We need to use the resources we have to attract investment, right? Obviously, we have to work with the executive branch of the government. But we need to bring investment, we need to develop our agriculture, we need to develop our mineral resources, we need to develop tourism. Okay? We need to make sure that, like if I was driving by Okin-Biscuit, I'm not sure whether some people... Okin-Biscuit was the most popular biscuit in Nigeria at that time. It's not just a sort of a figment of his imagination what it used to be. So there is a lot of opportunities that are where we can. So jobs. The second thing is that obviously I need to think about healthcare. It's my field. And I think one of if you look at our record in 1 year, what we were able to accomplish in 1 year when I was special advisor on health matters, and compare it to previous administration, I think you can judge for yourself. In terms of how we performed during COVID, we were like top 3 in the country in terms of preparedness and readiness to tackle COVID. Because we knew what we were doing. We had programs out within a week in terms of what we would do. If you look at the oxygen plant, it was not working for almost 10 years. And that was what we needed to be able to treat our people. Then we fixed it in a month. And we're now producing oxygen and selling to other states. Something that could not be done in years. Right? Look at what we had done. A lot of what we had laid out at the beginning, I think I submitted a 120-page, 5-year healthcare plan for Kwara State, which I handed over to the governor then. And I think some of it, they're doing it. But we still have a long way to go. The renovations we're doing. The largest intensive care in North Central. That was one of the things we started when I was a special advisor. Go to General Hospital long enough. By the time they opened the intensive care, it's the largest in North Central. with neurosciences, the neurology and neurosurgery practice. So there's so healthcare is obviously one of those areas. And then of course poverty alleviation is the third one I'll talk about. And poverty, by the time of that when we launch it.
Thank you very much. As Secretary said, we have some stakeholders in the media industry. Before I move to the last person, I would like to invite Mr. Ahmed Shitu from These Days Newspaper to ask his question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. He just stayed quietly in the back there.
Sir, no, in Nigeria today, there are a lot of challenges facing us. And in short, this thing has affected the slow pace of economic development of the country, which really cut across economic insecurity and all sorts. So if you eventually emerge to the Senate, what advice or what do you think we can do to stop this incessant insecurity and that is facing Nigerians?
I'm not wanting to be president of the country. I'm just kidding. I'm wanting to be senator of the.
You can get to the Senate and you give advice.
I'm
so
just. So what I'm trying. I'm just kidding. I think you hit the nail on the head in the fact that yes, there's an enormous problem, and I think it's a global issue. In the sense that we had some degree of recession before we even started because the oil price was beginning to go down. Then COVID hit. And COVID actually kind of really made it even worse in terms of economic downturn. Then after COVID, while we thought we were kind of getting out of the economic issues because sales of oil the price of oil was going down, then we now had this Ukrainian war. And the Ukrainian war has now changed the dynamic, even though the price of oil has gone up, which means our revenue is to be a lot better. So, what am I saying? A lot of us think Nigeria is very rich. Nigeria is not very rich. We're actually, sometimes we're struggling quite a bit because we don't fund most of what we put in our budget. I think you know that. Everybody knows that. We don't fund most of what we put in our budget. So, part of it is that what we even fund, a lot of it doesn't get to where it's supposed to get to. So we have the biggest challenge with corruption. That's one. The second way I will answer your other question is that 2023 is a crossroad for Nigeria, is a turning point for Nigerians in terms of whether we want to have a better country or we want to continue the same. We want to continue with the same. So again, I would urge people to not stick to the old belief that, oh, it's just a waste of time to get PVC, elections don't count. Just look at what happened in Osun, what happened in Ekiti. And there's some movement in the country, even including youth, that I'm actually quite surprised by. Okay, let me now say the last part of the question. I think the broken institutions need to be fixed. Our institutions are broken. I'm sure you saw the judgment about the judges in the country that were being paid the same salary for almost, 20 years? Or they had not had the salary revision in almost 10 years. So how do you have a judicial system where the judges are not compensated well? Of course, they will be at the mercy of the other group in terms of their ability to deliver on their jobs. So we need to fix the institutions. That's one. Obviously, corruption is cliche. We need to fix corruption. We have to start somewhere. The third part of it is that we need to put people that understand leadership, management, and that understand what governance is about in positions. You don't have to know everything, but you need to surround yourself with people that can get things done for you. Because I think a lot of time people get into position, they're now thinking of what to do. You need to be ready with a plan, get into the office, surround yourself with strong people that are very sharp to help you drive your agenda. Until we begin to do that, we still have a long way to go in Nigeria. But this is part of the movement. We're beginning to see that. And I always say it. If somebody told me 5 years ago that I was going to be in politics, I would say, oh, hell no. Because that's the way people that are professional, that have competence, have been brainwashed. Politics is for rogues, for people that are not educated. You know, it's not true. Politics is life. And if you want to be able to change things, you have to be part of the process. And that's why someone like me got involved. It's an uphill battle, but we have to start somewhere. And I'm ready to fight the fight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think this conclusively. Talking about scale of preference. There's a question yes someone said to me, said, what would be your first bill if you emerge as senator?
You know, that's a good question. And I think that it will be premature. It will be premature for me to answer that question. You know why? Because the way my brain works is that I want to know how something works before I key into it. You know, I think my first assignment when I get to the Senate is to lobby. Make as many friends as possible across the aisle, across everywhere. And get to know the executive branch, the legislative branch, get to know as many people as possible. Because I think that's the best way. When you make friends, you form relationships, you get a lot of dividend of democracy to your people. Not that bills are not important, but if there's something I'm passionate about, it's about poverty. In this country, where we're the third or fourth largest oil exporting country, we have our people that cannot have 3 square meals a day. I'm not saying that's my first bill, I'm just telling you something that I feel that hurts me. That really pains me. But I think the first assignment is to know how, not to go and learn on the job, but to create network. To create network. To be able to go to the chairman of each of the committee and say, look, Oga, this is what my people need. How can you help me? Or to be able to make friends with the Senate president and say, I need you to help me with this. That's the real, and to be able to have link to the executive. You need to create a network. And then this is the first step. That then makes a lot of orders. Because, you know, people call, like for instance, all of us here now, if I call a meeting and I want us to come and decide on something, and I think we'll get a decision there, it's not true. So you don't call meeting for consensus. You should have 70% of your consensus before you come to the meeting. So if you ask me what bill, I'll say, yeah, I can do this bill. I would have answered you that. But the issue is that the bill that I will put on the floor, I should have a lot of people that are already my friends that will support it. That's why the first job is to have a network, friendship, clear relationships, so that it will make things easy for us to pass whatever bill we pass first. That's the way. I think that's the way my brain works.
Thank you very much. I think that's why you're a professor.
And on the final, just what will be your last message for people of Kwara South?
Well, first of all, I've really enjoyed being here. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm never afraid of media because I have nothing to hide. And I'm actually very impressed that it's a lot of young, progressive people. I hope all of you have your PVCs. Yes. Please exercise your democratic rights. I think the message for the people is that, first of all, I want you to participate in the next election by getting your PVCs, because your votes are going to count. Your votes are going to count. When you vote, protect your vote. Make sure that as they're entering that number to transmit electronically, make sure they're putting the right numbers in the place. And if you can take a picture of the final result, take it and send it on social media so that things cannot be changed. Get your PVC, vote, protect your vote, and make sure that you disseminate the information so that everybody knows what's going on. That's one. The second thing is that in Kwara South, I want my people to understand that this fight we're fighting for is not about Professor Wale Sulaiman. I may be the face of it, I may be the flag bearer for SDP. This is for freedom and emancipation of our people. This is for freedom and emancipation of our people, so that you You will be the one controlling your destiny, and you have a representation that feels accountable and responsible to the people. I want you to please go out en masse and be part of this democratic process. I thank you very much. I look forward to meeting everybody and having further conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.